Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, I wanted to go over version 2 of my Azalea deck tech, or Azalea list for outsiders. This will be kind of like the last iteration, obviously, probably before the release and I actually get the cards in hand. But just trying to give kind of an update of what my thoughts are on Azalea. And then also kind of give just like some general ratios. I had some people asking about like arrow ratios and pump ratios and stuff like that. So I kind of talk about that and also talk about the changes that I made and kind of go from there. So I've played 44 games on the deck, sitting at about 70% win rate. Again, Talishard, like win rate doesn't matter too much, just kind of showing you what I've played against. Played some of the Mirror, Arachne, one Briar, one Dash, one Dorinthia, one of. Played against 3-Fi, haven't had an issue with Fi. Katsu's been a little weird. I started up 2-0 and then lost my last two. I played a lot of Lexi, which has been going really well for me. Oldheim 2-1 against Uziri. Really, my struggle has actually been two Riptides that just got me. And then, other than that, like a one of those. So that's where I'm sitting at. Again, win rate is teach their own, just kind of showing you like the heroes that I have played. So in my first list, and this is kind of like the same list for me. I think if I open this up really fast, we'll kind of look at the first list here real fast. That was public to everybody. And then kind of go through here. So my first list in V1, so I had Lace with Blood Rot, all Lace with Inertia. So I had a 6 of the new pumps in my deck, and then Premeditate, obviously, with Sedation Shot, 6 Spire Snipings, and then 6 Read the Glide Paths. So as you can see, it's kind of what I had. And then the sideboard, I had 2 Withering Shots, just kind of testing out Frailty a little bit. This was the kind of my Dromai package. This is my aggro. This is to be a little bit more defensive on those long games, and then fetch the blue tail for extra blues. So kind of going into the ratios, and then I'll talk about the changes. So for ratios right now, what I've found is if you want to be safe, I think 24 arrows is the number. And by safe, I mean like never draw a dead hand. I can tell you, and I have kept track, I have played 44 games with this list. I have drawn a dead hand twice that I can remember. Maybe I drew another one, and by dead hand I mean no arrows and no Codex or Frailty. I think I draw it twice, maybe 3 times. Twice in the midst of a game, and the third time I drew a no arrow hand was turn 1, but I had a knock the death whistle, so I was able to use it anyway. With having 24 buffs or 24 arrows in the deck, having 3 knock to death whistles that you can absolutely use if you have to. I actually don't use these unless I'm trying to A, close a game out, or B, I don't have an arrow. And also having 3 Codex of Frailties now, you basically have 30 arrows in your deck when you're running 24 actual arrows. I've gone down as low as 21, and I still haven't had any issues. I played Azalea all through ProQuest Season 2, and I'm telling you right now, at least once every 2 to 3 games, I think every single Azalea had this, maybe once every 2 games, or once every game, depending on how your luck was. You would always get like the dreaded non-arrow hand. I have not experienced that with this deck. And it's nothing to like my deck building, although I think it's decent. It's more of like, this is just how the deck functions now. The deck is highly, highly consistent, does really, really well, and I don't think you need any more than 24 arrows. You can even cheat it down and go to 21 if you keep track of what's still in your deck, you pitch right, and you do things correctly. You can even go down to 21, in my opinion. So on that note, my original 21 arrows were 3 Bolt and Shot, 3 Drill Shot, 3 Infecting Shot, 3 Red in the Ledger, 3 Sedation Shot, that's 15, 6 Spire Snipings went to 21. And then I would go to 24 with either Battering Bolt, Remorseless, or Withering Shot, depending on like what it went. I kept the Bolton shots, kept the Drill shots, kept the Red Infecting shots. I swapped, I believe, Sedation Shot for Yellow Infecting Shot. What I'm noticing is I am getting a lot of Lace with Inertia. When inertia is useful and I bring it in, when you take into account Lace with Inertia, you really don't need Sedation Shot that much. I think you're already favored uh, into Icelander, in my opinion, with this list now. That's just my opinion. We'll see if it changes as she adapts. And Oldheim, you're just going to try to get over the top anyway, and you can break his ability to hold an arsenal with Seek and Destroy, with Lace with Inertia, and also with other stuff. It just by sheer power level of the deck and him having to block. So I found that Sedation Shot, although it's a really good arrow, and I think depending on the meta, you might bring it back in, I don't think I really need it as much. So I put in Infecting Shot because this card is just so good for value. Red Infecting Shot, if they don't block it, it's essentially a 1 for 7, right? Or a 2 for 7, depending on how you look at it with Death Dealer. And the yellow is a 1 for 6, right? So, and if you can dominate this and give it an aim counter, then this becomes a 1 for 5. That's now essentially a 1 for 7, and this becomes a 1 for 6, which is now essentially a 1 for 8. So, or threatening 1 for 8. So, and then when you can combine that with a Lace with Blood Rot and you can stack these tokens, it just your damage goes exponential. Dominating like an Infecting Shot for like 9 dominate with Lace, and then they maybe block 3 to save a little bit of life, taking 6, and then now you're threatening 4 more damage if they try to like crack back at you. So now that 9 dominate actually was a 13 dominate. It can just really like stack and do really well. So I swapped Sedation Shot for Yellow Infecting Shot. I kept Red in the Ledger. It's just too good of a card, obviously. Remorseless I kept, although I did put it in the main board. It was in the sideboard. Now it's just main boarded. I kept the 6 Spire Snipings. I think you run 6 of this card. This card is stupid. When you combine 6 Spire Snipings with 6 Read the Glide Paths, you are able to just have really consistent dominate and really consistent just power levels. And for me, I'm either adding in Lace with Frailty or Lace with Inertia as my last set of buffs, and being able to do that has allowed me to really take advantage of certain play lines and really may have a lot of value. So ended up keeping the 6 Spire Snipings. I think that's pretty much it. So the main arrow change was Sedation Shot for Infecting Shot, Yellow Infecting Shot, and putting Remorseless in the main board, which freed up some of my sideboard for more buffs. So that's the first major change. Talking about buffs, if you have 24 arrows, I think you can go anywhere between 21 and 24 buffs. I personally don't want my buffs to be a whole lot less than my arrows. I want like a 1-for-1 ratio. I think that's really nice for power level, because then hopefully you're getting 1 buff and 1 arrow per turn minimum, and then on really good turns you can get 2 buffs or 3 buffs and you can dominate an arrow, and it's really, really good. So right now, I don't think my buffs have changed. In my original list, they haven't changed, but where I put them changed. I had 3 Lace with Inertia, 3 Premeditate, that's 6. 3 Read the Glide Path makes 12. 3 Seek and Destroy makes 15. 3 Deadeye makes 18. And then we had Fletch with Blue Tail making 21. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 buffs. So 24 buffs. I don't think I made any changes. All I did was I added in Lace with Frailty into the sideboard in place of the Withering Shots, because it does the same thing. What I'm noticing is you're wanting the Infecting Shot. That's your most consistent on hit. But what's nice about having Lace with Frailty and Lace with Inertia in sideboard is for decks like Icelander, Oldheim, Bolton, trying to think of what heroes in the meta value their arsenal. Just heroes that value their arsenal, those are the big ones. Icelander and Oldheim are the big ones. That's mainly what you're using it for. Lace with Inertia is really, really nice. Then Lace with Frailty is really good against the other half of the meta, in my opinion. It's good against Fi. It's good against Lexi. It's going to be good against the Mirror. It's good against Katsu. It's good against just Warrior in general, Dory and Bolton. I think that, I know I keep mentioning Bolton, that's just what came to my head, But I think that that's really good against that side of the meta. So like you have two buffs, and you basically put one or the other in depending on what part of the meta you're playing against. And I'm just forward thinking. I personally think the meta, and that could be wrong. If I am, come back and comment on this video. I personally think that the meta is going to be Ranger. It's going to be Lexi and Azalea. I'm not saying who's going to be the best. I'm just going to say who's going to be a part of the meta decks. It's going to be Ranger with Lexi and Azalea. It's going to be Oldheim and Icelander are going to stay there. And then I think you're also going to have Katsu and Fi in the mix, personally, to be able to combat that. And then finally, you're going to have like counter picks in Dromai and Bravo. So I think like aggro is going to beat Dromai. Dromai is going to keep Ranger in check. And then Ranger is going to help combat some of the ice heroes. I think that's like how it's going to work out. So because of that, I'm just thinking ahead. I'm trying to like plan for aggro with frailty and inertia with ice. Dromai is Dromai. I already have my Dromai package in here, but that's my thought process. So I have 3 Lacer Blood Rots, 2 Melting Points, making 5. It's been pretty good overall. I was a little bit on the fence about Melting Point, but if you look at the stats, or is it under results? Yeah, it's under results. So Melting Point, I've seen it 32 times. I've blocked with it 14 times, and I've played it 14 times. My original worry was that I wasn't going to play it as much as I thought, but it's been really nice to play. It's like half and half, and having a 3-block buff is super nice alongside Deadeye. So 3 Lacer Blood Rots, 2 Melting Points, making 5, 3 Premeditates. This card's just unbelievable. So good. Being able to this card allows you to overextend, right? If any attack that turn hits, you get a ponder token, which means you can play this and not have a card to arsenal. But if you're coming in for like 11 or 14, like they're probably gonna let it hit, and you're gonna get an arsenal anyway. So it allows you to overextend on some arrows and play like really high dominated arrows when normally you'd want to hold one card for arsenal. You can just dump your hand, deal a crazy big attack, and then still get an arsenal anyway. So that's 8. We still have our 6 Read the Glide Pass, making 14. Seek and Destroy is 17. And then Deadeye is 20. And then we're going to 23 either with Lace or Inertia. And then if in the really grinding matchups, we have 25 with Fletch, a Blue Tail, to give us a little bit more blues as well. So that's my thought process. Again, 24 arrows to be safe. 20, you can honestly play with 21 arrows. And then for buffs, I like to stick around 23 buffs. So it's like an even ratio, and that's kind of where I'm at. And Lightning Strike has stayed in the list. Honestly, in the aggro matchups, this card is a block 3. Like, it really is. Aggro, or even like the kind of like middle of the road matchups, this card's a block 3. Where this card really shines is against Icelander, against like if she somehow rips my hand with like on like Insidious Shields and stuff. It really helps obviously with Oldheim because it's a 2 for 7 or a 2 card hand for 5, still gain an arsenal. It's really good for any deck that's like gonna force you to play on 2 card hands consistently. Maybe this is gonna be really, really nice. And so it's like some of the matchups I'm like, man, this is literally just a block 3 fodder. And then some matchups I'm like, man, I love that having Lightning Strike. So it's not that it's like an A+ in the deck. I can't think what better to replace it with right now. So it's staying in the list. I have 3 Sink Belows mainboarded. This is like my get out of jail free card if I don't draw into an arrow. Some people would argue Fate Foreseen is better. I personally think that you don't really need Fate Foreseen as much in this deck. This deck has 6 Spire Snipings and 6 Read the Glide Path, Whisk, Golbo, and Cross Wrap. So like, why do I need to opt even more? I'd rather cycle a card out if I don't have a good hand. Maybe I have an arrow with no buff, or maybe I have a buff with no arrow. I can cycle a card out and hopefully get it back. And then we have Codex of Frailty. This is literally another arrow. Like, it's so good. It allows you. I love hands where I have like just random, right? Like you have Codex. Not even premeditate because you don't want double ponder. Let's say you have Codex, Lacer Blood Rot, and Seek and Destroy. You play a Seek and Destroy, play Lacer Blood Rot, so your next arrow gets +6. You play Codex of Frailty, load in a Drill Shot, fire the Drill Shot for 10. Doesn't have Dominate, but for 10. And you reload. You reload off of Frailty, so you can still check the top of your deck and see if you can get a Dominated arrow. But you fire a Drill Shot for 10. And then you arsenal anyway. So I just gave my opponent a frailty token. I'm threatening to destroy their arsenal at the end of their turn, and I'm threatening to give them a Blood Rot token, and I'm hitting them for 10. Oh, by the way, I still get an arsenal. Like the value on the card is just really, really nutty. And I'm really, really happy with it. You never not gonna have 3 of this card in my opinion. I don't care if it's a 2-block. At worst, it's a pitch. It's a yellow pitch. So really nice for that. In the sideboard right now, Van Brandt's, they finally updated it to where you can use this card in Talishar, and I've used it on Oldheim twice, and you saw him 2-1 against Oldheim. This card is insane. Because a lot of times in Azalea, what you'll notice is you'll have a floating resource a lot of times, right? Especially off a yellow pitch and you play a 0-cost error or something like that. You usually have a floating resource in hand or in your pitch, and you're able to Van Brandt's really consistently and basically nullify their Crown of Seeds. I've got drill shots to hit on dominated drill shots to hit on Oldheim twice because of Van Brandt's, because they tried to prevent it with Crown of Seeds, and I was able to just Van Brandt's it. And the Oldheim themselves, they still want to cycle sometimes, so they're going to Crown anyway, even if they know you can Van Brandt's, at least from my experience. But it doesn't matter because it's just really good. When you combine this with Boulder Trap, the Oldheim matchup, I think, is still unfavored, but it's not nearly as unfavored as it was. Battering Bolts and Ravenous Rabbles, literally in there for the Jeremiah matchup. I've only played one Jeremiah. I won the matchup, but it was a red line Jeremiah, and I kind of just high rolled, which I think you can win against Jeremiah in this deck if you high roll and draw hot, and they're like the Empress Jeremiah. But if they're not, it's still hard. It's still the toughest matchup. Battering Bolt also comes in against Assassin. If you play Uziri or Narachni a lot, which a lot of people are right now, it's really good because they have a lot of reactions. It's really good against Dory because she has a lot of reactions. So overall, like, still very useful against other decks. Like I said, Lace of Frailty comes in against Ninja, comes in against Warrior, and it comes against Ranger. Inertia comes in against all ice decks. And I'll even bring it like a one of these into like a Phi. Someone maybe is trying to hold an Art of War or something like that. I'll even bring it into that. Rabble, that's solely for the Jeremiah matchup. Boulder Trap is mainly used in the Oldheim matchup to get rid of Rampart. However, it can also be used in any deck that you think is going to use a lot of reactions to maybe wear down some of their equipment. It's really good against Assassin as well. If they react and buff an attack, you play Boulder Trap, you can put a counter on one of their equipment, which is how they use tank to take tempo a lot. So it's really good for that. Fletcher Bluetail comes in against Oldheim and against Wizard. So I can have 8 blues. I don't have a lot of blues in this deck, but it hasn't hurt me yet so far. I do have a lot of yellows, 3, 6, 9, 12 yellows, so it kind of balances out. Perch Grapplers comes in against anybody that needs on hit. Snapdragon Skillers comes in against anything out to race. Overall, I'm really happy with the deck. I have a matchup guide here, although I'm not 100% confident with it yet, so I want to make sure it's 100% on this. Maybe when Outsiders releases is when I'll do the sideboard guide. I want to get a couple more games in, but yeah, overall, I mean, against aggro, I'm basically like 5-2, which for me at my level of Azalea play is good for me. The Lexi matchup has been really nice. I will say this, and I'm okay saying this because I don't care. No one's going to define the meta based off what I say. Lexis are moving away from fused builds, it seems. They're going for a fuseless build, and that bodes well for Azalea because we don't care about a lot of their on hits with the fuseless builds, like a lot of them, and we can just like disrupt them really, really hard, more than they disrupt us. I feel like Azalea really doesn't like the fuse builds a lot more with like Chilling Ice Veins and stuff like that, and even Blizzard Bolts. However, like, if you hit me with a Bolt and Shot and Lacer Blood Rod, I'm just going to come back and smack you for like 14 Dominate and take the 2 damage. I don't care. So I haven't had much issue with the Lexis, but we'll see how that. I think Lexi's going to be kind of a puzzle people need to solve. And I also think the builds are going to be meta dependent. So it all depends. But I'm super happy with the list. I can't think of anything else I would change right now. It's probably a list I'm going to run as time goes on and see how it goes. But yeah, super happy with the list. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you have any changes, any thoughts, maybe what Azalea list you're running. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TCG Talk. Also, I didn't say at the beginning of the video, like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord if you want, join the Patreon, a lot of cool stuff there. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all so much.